Sorry, I forgot to on. Okay, a very good morning, everyone, brothers and sisters. Let us start the session. Now I would like to share a short accepted speech from Master Ching Yan. I have seize the time and make good use of spare energy. I have to draw all my energies and push my limits each day. And if I do not utilize it now, when should it be used? If we do not use our energy properly, we will be living in vain. Therefore, we must seize the time and make good use of our remaining energy. In the past, we did many right things of Tzu Chi. Towards the end, never to neglect or miss. Even the slightest things that has to be done, even if only a tiny bit remains, we must exert the strength of kindness. Gotten the Master's teaching. Now let us send our sincere prayers into the 10 directions. May the Hualien be free from disaster and peace prevails in the world. Let us sing our prayer song with sincere piousness.
In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. All my heart is filled with sincere prayer. From all corners of the world, let us join our hearts and pray for a world of harmony and peace. In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. May all the Buddhas hear my prayer. All united with one heart, let us end our hate with love. May there be no suffering hereafter.
May all minds be purified. May there be peace in the community. May there be no disasters in this world. Let us pray together for universal love and blessing. With loving respect, gratitude, and confidence, let us wish every person in our lives a healthy body and enlightened mind and a total fulfillment in universal love. Now let us expand this consciousness to include every person in the world, every being in the universe. Let our unified love make this wonderful world even better. Let us all immerse ourselves in the joyful embrace of universal love. Before we hear the wonderful sharing, let us invite our masters to lead us in paying homage to the Triple Gems. Let us pay our respects to this teaching and explanations to the Buddha and Master Ching Yan by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise, palms together, First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Abode Masters who could join us today. And everyone. Okay, today we have three sharers. Brother Goh from UK, living the Tzu Chi style, and we have Brother Liang and Sister Eleen sharing on the life lessons at Taman, Sinar, Harapan, KKB, followed by Sister Monica and Brother Christopher, who have been to Kathmandu. So sharing the sending love to Kathmandu. Okay, before that, we'll invite Sister Su Ching for the weekly summary. Sister Su Ching, over to you. Ka'an.
Sister Lily. Okay, last Saturday we had a few sharers. The first one was Brother Michael from the Philippines. In the Philippines, the Tzu Chi's light does shine. 10 years since Typhoon Haiyan, Tzu Chi's love continued to be defined. In 2009, amid Typhoon Kasana's wake, cash for work was planned, a successful call to locals to be paid whilst lending a helping hand. Her little who was once lost found worth anew. From a recipient to a carpenter, his path in Tzu Chi grew. Through giving, he learned of life's fleeting glance. His story made it to print, and he became a role model of Philippines dance. A great love village emerged from the typhoon as a collection of hope in the city of Ormoc, at the heart where dreams elope. So moved by the volunteers was the mayor that he assigned land, 50 hectares for Tzu Chi to build a physical legacy, simple yet so grand. In Master's words, this is true. The Bodhisattva's compassion is innate in me and you. So thus began the medical missions organized by Tzu Chi's many hands. Many eyes saw vision at last. Many developed a grateful stand. Elisa's eyes were once dimmed by fate. Geraldine's dreams to be a police officer came true and changed her state. From troubled grip, her brother Romeo did break. It was from Tzu Chi's light that his future awake. From the cycle of poverty, Tzu Chi did disrupt, turning darkness to dawn in sight, health, education, and even conduct. May minds be pure, continues Tzu Chi's prayer song, in Tzu Chi's embrace where we all belong. And we have Sister Yuru, who spoke about her journey on the Tzu Chi path. From Tzu Ching days, Sister Yuru's journey began. In acts of kindness, she found her plan. Many bowls she washed in a faithful, simple start to a foothold in education, enriching many hearts. As she ventured on her journey, first from a student's quest, heeding Master's words, she knew in Tzu Chi she'd want to invest. In a camp in Malacca, she pledged to be vegetarian at last, leading others as she went along, building her roots deep and vast. With Tzu Chi schools, her skills were refined, and she saw herself transform and grew with her soul aligned. Last year to India, she went on a sacred flight, spreading Dharma in Buddha's land for 30 nights. With every breath in life's embrace, virtue blooms in every person in every space, like fireflies in the night's grand span, radiating light in a journey that doesn't end. And we had Brother Joe Huang. The lotus path as chapters unfold. In chapter 10, the torch passes as the truth is retold. Beyond Buddha's time, the lineage will continue. As teachings are upheld, this Bodhisattva's path to pursue. Emergence of the treasure stupa's grace, witnessed by elders in a sacred space. Change beckons as more youth embrace. The Dharma legacy is preserved in every place. Chapter 13 talks of vows reaffirmed. Bodhisattva's devotions are thus confirmed. With this comes criticisms faced, but with wisdom in sight. In chapter 14, the four practices tells of ways that shine the light. Lotus Sutra's message, ever profound, in every chapter enlightenment is found. Okay, thank you for listening. I will stop sharing right now and hand over to Brother Chin to introduce our next speaker. Over to you, Brother Chin.
Hello, Sister Su Ching. Good morning, brothers and sisters. So welcome on our Saturday morning, early morning, on this program on sharing. Now we have the first speaker for today, Father Goh, all the way from UK. Father Goh is a young physician in the emergency department, as I understand, for the Birmingham Hospital. And is going to, who is really a youth leader who's attended a number of programs, including the food program. And here we have him sharing the Tzu Chi lifestyle, living the Tzu Chi lifestyle. So here we have Brother Goh, all the way from the UK.
Hello, can you hear me?
Absolutely loud and clear.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Well, it's a bit nighttime here, but good morning. My name is Jia Luen, or Jia Luen. So I'm actually from Malaysia, from Penang. Nice to see everyone here. It's quite nice to see my own so-called Manglish spoken. It's been a while, even though I've been back to Malaysia for Chinese New Year recently, but it's really good to see everyone here. Good morning. So I think I was very grateful to have the opportunity to share today with everyone here, and it actually came as a bit of a surprise because I've never done sharing like this before, and then it's quite a big undertaking for myself to share a little bit here. And then thanks again for the opportunities. And I think when I put the title of Leading the Tzu Chi Lifestyle, I think mainly is just to share a little bit of my personal journey from joining Tzu Chi all the way till now, being a certified commissioner and actually joining a few of the international meetings with COP and the World Food Forum in the last year. Let me try to put the slide up. Just give me a minute. Can everyone see the slide?
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna struggle, even though I'm young, but I think I still struggle with screen share, so I apologize for that. So I will try to make this a bit interactive. So I think I put the title as Living the Tzu Chi Lifestyle. And then what would people think when we talk about the Tzu Chi lifestyle? Does anyone mind sharing or want to have a share what they think it is? Okay. So I think basically, I've actually grown up within the Tzu Chi community, well, since I was at quite a young age. So I think I was joining Tzu Chi since I was like 7 or 8. And at that point, I think we still haven't had the proper sort of Tzu Yu Ban or we only have the Sunday school back in Penang. And then eventually I joined the Tzu Ban, I don't know what to translate, Tzu Ban, and then joined Su Ching and eventually came to the UK for my university. So in a nutshell, when we talk about living the Tzu Chi lifestyle, is that how do I practice Tzu Chi in my day-to-day life? Because I think within Tzu Chi, we talk about a bodhisattva's path, and we talk about how to practice Buddhism in our day-to-day life. So I think in a nutshell, that is what I was thinking about when I say Tzu Chi lifestyle. But clearly, if we break it down a bit further, we talk about how to be compassionate to others around us. How do we help others in need? We practice vegetarianism. We promote recycling activities. There's a lot of things that we do in our day-to-day lives, which is part of the Tzu Chi lifestyle. But quite often we become a bit focused and to say, or sometimes as from my own experience, it's like growing up. When I go to Tzu Chi activities, I'm a Tzu Chi person. When I'm back to school, when I'm doing something else, I'm another person. So I think there has at some point been a discrepancy between the two identities until I started going to university and coming to work, that I actually start to piece things together to say that what have I learned in Tzu Chi and how do I put it together in my day-to-day life? And then sometimes we find that it's actually more challenging than it is in terms of maintaining it in the day-to-day life. So I recently came through a book, and then it's actually written by entrepreneur called Simon Sinek, and he talked about something about called the golden circle. When I read about the book and look at this circle, it really inspired me and enabled me to link this idea with Master Cheng Yen's teaching. So on the book, it says we need to ask us why are we doing certain things, and how do we do that, and what do we do about it. So I think although it's a more of a leadership and an entrepreneur style of book, but I think it just came to me in the sense that sometimes I start to question myself, why do we do such activities? And then how do we do it in day-to-day life? And how do we communicate what we do with others around us? And then how do we promote Tzu Chi? How do we communicate with others? Because especially after attending a global meeting, people ask, so what do you do as a Tzu Chi volunteer? And how do you identify your identity in an international stage? So after a bit of thought, a bit of thinking, and then also relating back to some of the sutra performances I've joined when I was back in Malaysia, in Penang, this is my take on the circle. So within this circle, we talk about why and how. And then basically this is aligned with Tzu Chi's or Master's teaching to say our Jingsi Dharma lineage. So Master Cheng Yen started Tzu Chi with 6 words from the master again, Ying Sun Dao Shi, to say that is for Buddhism and for the sentient beings. And then that transforms into our Jingsi Dharma lineage today, as well as incorporating the Sutra of Innumerable Meaning and Lotus Sutra into our day-to-day practice. And then how do we translate all this Buddhism activity or Buddhism ideas and practice into day-to-day life, which is what the Tzu Chi have established, which is the Tzu Chi path called the Tzu Chi's 4 mission and 8 Dharma footprints, which include charity, medicine, disaster relief, and education, humanistic value, and etc. So this is my take of the circle. And then when I put it that way, I start to think about, or I start to contemplate about how do I practice these activities and how do I link between what I feel and what I'm learning inside and reflect on myself. How do I practice them and bring it onto my day-to-day life? Is basically something I ponder along for a little bit of time as I progress in my journey and experience. So if I gone through, so the next slide. So this is a excerpt I've taken out from the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings from the 3rd chapter. I've performed the sutra when I was in Malaysia still, and then I particularly like these two excerpts. So it says the sutra is like a seed, and then one grows into millions, and these millions of seeds will each produce millions until the number is innumerable and countless. Followed by one truth unfolds into innumerable meanings, and the innumerable meanings come from but one truth. And then hearing it and grasping its essence, one will understand all laws and all phenomena. So I think in comparison to the whole of Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, I find myself resonate deeply with these excerpts. Part of the reason is it suddenly came to me as actually Buddhism is very deep, but at the same time it's very simple. Because the Buddha, in order to preach his teachings, he has to come through with so many different sutras to allow all the sentient beings of different understanding to accept and learn the sutra. And then when I think about it in that way, and I start to recollect all the teachings I've had when I was still a kid, especially with the Jingsi aphorism when I was growing up, one that comes to mind immediately was, I remember I always tell my mom this, so the person who gets angry is punishing themselves for someone else's mistake. And I almost become something that we will talk about. If I get angry, my mom will say something like that, or being angry is being crazy for a period of time. So I think the more I think about it as I grow up, I started to recognize actually there's a bit more meaning into it rather than just a Jingsi aphorism, something that you use to label or something that you use to remind yourself. And as I delve deeply into it, actually, there's a lot of the Jing aphorisms there. They sounded very simple. It's something they can practice on a day-to-day. But once you start to understand the meaning behind it, or why are we doing it, then it makes more sense to practice it. Just like, say, instead of being angry, I try to be calm. And then why do I have to be calm, or why am I angry at the first place? You start to reflect into your internal feelings. Then that comes down to the why. We talk about the circle, we talk about why. Why am I angry? And then you start to actually do a bit more of a deeper reflection of why we do what we do. And I think similarly with the Tzu Chi practice in terms of what I meant by a Tzu Chi lifestyle is there are a lot of things that I've joined Tzu Chi and I started doing. For example, being a vegetarian, or trying to be soft-spoken, or try to be polite to all the other people. But then growing up, you'll be like, this is a good deed. This is how you should be. And then this is the teaching from our elders that this is what you should do. But why are we doing all this becomes a question, because especially after coming to the UK, been exposed to a bit more of a different culture and society, then you start to think about how do I maintain this practice? And why does it matter? It's a one way to say it. So when I look through all this, then I come to, this is the sort of the way I see it in terms of practicing Tzu Chi lifestyle. So it's how we align the value and our action. So in Tzu Chi, quite often we'll be here for activity, and then we'll be done with activity and we go home, we're back to our normal self. And then time and time, we start to practice, we learn, and then we try to practice the same values with our family members, or at school or at work, and things like that. So for me, personal and the daily living, in terms of the value, is how do I be compassionate to the people around me? How do I be respectful to people around me? And then this all matters because it comes back to karma. It comes back to our relation with others in our past lives. There are people that we might see that we immediately have a deep love for, or someone we feel grateful for. And then similarly, there are people that we'll see or encounter that we find a bit more annoyance. And then once you start to settle down to reflect onto the feelings that I have for myself, that I start to piece things together, or pull things apart to go through why I think. And then in terms of daily living, we talk about compassion. One of them is practicing vegetarians. So I started becoming a vegetarian when I was in 2009, so Form 5, when I was 17. So I think it started because of the performance of the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings. It was a simple 3 months of, I think it was 3 months of being a vegetarian during the Sutra performance. And then after that, I thought it was actually not too bad. We got 3 meals and then the food was really nice, and then you just carry on. And then being at school, I think we're just trying to save money. I'm not sure for what reason at that point. So I just think, actually, if I go to eat Taman, for example, I can have more rice and more vegetables for more value than having meat. So I thought that is not too bad. But then as I progress, I come to the UK. I've stayed here for the past about 12, 13 years now. And then you start to realize that actually the compassion of not eating meat, I think I definitely have benefited from not eating meat, because I think I have less greed for food, or less craving for certain food or meat. And nowadays, I really have no interest in meat, if I'm honest. And then my mom used to remind me that when I was a kid, I go to the market and then I'll see the fishmonger scaling the fish, and that was like the first thing I said, isn't that very painful? I don't remember any of this, to be fair, but that's what my mom said. And then I think, on hindsight, I don't know how it comes along, but I think that stuck with me, and I still continue to feel that, if I can sustain myself by not needing to eat meat, I'm not losing on anything. And then sometimes we feel like a little actions like this, is it going to make a difference? Probably on a grand scale, it might not. But then when everyone gather a little bit of these thoughts or these practices, whether it's one meal a day, 1 meal a week, I think eventually all the little things counts and adds together. So it doesn't really matter in terms of if someone else do something else. or someone else do what they want to do, but at least to start with, you believe in what you do and you persevere with it. And then once you understand why you do it, it becomes easy to continue. And then you don't get distracted by the external influences. For example, you got this friend who say they want to have a piece of meat, a bit of satay, whatever, a bit of temptation. And once you understand why you're doing it, then it becomes easier to persevere what you're doing. And for example, it's like I enjoy Malaysian food. So coming to the UK, Malaysian food is a bit harder to come by. And then I'll just have to try to do something about it. So I started cooking. And then I started to try to make some cooking from home. I learned my grandmother's recipe to make sambal and different things. So I still can get by with having Malaysian food and being vegetarian at the same time. So it is doable. And then you understand, for me, I also do it because it's not just about compassion, it's about the environment, it's also about my health benefits. So I think whatever you believe in, once you have the reason, once you understand why, then it might make it easier, because once you value what the value you like, or the value you share aligns with the action you're doing, there's less discrepancy between the mind and the heart. It becomes easier to follow through with the plan. And then professionally, like Brother Chin was introducing myself earlier, I'm currently a practicing doctor in the UK. I'm working in emergency department and intensive care unit. That's my specialty in training. So there is a lot more things that goes along with working together with different people, whether it's my nursing colleagues, my doctor's colleague, patients and their family. How do I maintain that relationship with them? How do I work with them? And then I think when we talk about Tzu Chi's value in my lifestyle, in this case, at my workplace, basically it's kind of like, how do I respect them? How am I grateful that I'm given the opportunity to treat these patients and make an impact on their life? Or if their life is coming to an end, how do I make it count and allow them to find peace? So this value resonates with me, whether it's professionally, because within the medical practice, one of the few things is that I should not be doing any harm. And then there's also benevolence and a few other core ethics within my professionalism, within my professional practice. But then regardless of the way it's phrased in the workplace or in the ethical codes, but to me, it came back to a very simple teaching by the master, which is being grateful, being respectful, and spread love. I think having these three very simple practice to put it together in my day-to-day practice. For example, we always have a bit of discrepancy, or sometimes we have a bit of arguments or disagreement among medical professionals. But at the end of the day, we aim for the best for our patient, and we can have disagreements. But how do we bridge this disagreement? Because we all have the same intention. We're aiming to do good for our patients. And then in order for that to happen, how do we bridge the communication barrier? Because we're basically looking at things at different perspectives. And then how do we settle our differences and actually agree we're working towards the same goal? And then once you understand, you start respecting their views. And then once you take a step back to respect their views, they also actually come to see your senses, because our initial reflex or a knee-jerk reflex is to say that you're not listening. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to insist on my points, and then we're going to argue about it. But at one point, nobody's listening. And then it affects our patient care and the teamwork. So I think within my professional setting, I find that these are the values that I was able to cultivate from my experience and growing up within the Tzu Chi family. Although there might have been some parts that, I not got lost, but I think some part that I needed some time to understand what I'm doing or what I've learned so far and actually put it into my daily life. And then on hindsight, it's actually looking at it's not as challenging as I think to say that I have to practice Tzu Chi activities only during Tzu Chi activities, or the values during Tzu Chi activities. It's actually on our day-to-day, on our each encounter is a chance to practice, and it is a chance to reflect on ourselves. So I was very grateful to have this insight after practicing Tzu Chi activities for a period of time. And then when I talk about, and then on my slide, I mentioned the globally as well. So in that sense, especially after attending the World Food Forum in Italy in October and the COP28 in Dubai, we find that there's a lot of like-minded people who are very passionate about environmental changes. They're passionate about justice for the poverty, for the people who are at disadvantage, whether it's all across the world. And then if we narrow it down, it all comes from love. People want to do good things for the people who are suffering or for the environment because they care and they love about it. They love the people around it, they love the environment. And then why are there still a lot of disagreements among the different parties? So in essence, we need to find the common grounds to work together. And that's through communication. And that's being humble and being grateful and respectful for each and everyone. And then during the COP28 meeting, as I was fortunate enough to be invited to be on one of the panelists, and we talk about food system. And then we also talk about values within the food system. And I think my learning from that session was I think when we're delivering a lot of projects or missions to do certain activities, we have a very clear mission statement or objective. But then often these projects are quite big scale. And then with a big scale project, you always run into difficulties and challenges. And then it's quite easily to be blindsided when we encounter difficulties like this because we'll feel like, why is this person not cooperating? I'm aiming to do good. I want to do justice for these people, but why are the people I'm trying to help not willing to help me or support the ideas? And then, like we said again, it sort of bows down to communication. It also bows down to how do you share this information? But then how do we not turn away when we encounter these difficulties? Is actually coming back again to the values. Because if we're driven by a value that we truly share and we truly believe in, we see these challenges as a chance to learn and to grow. And then value is a much stronger power or a much stronger way to anchor our drive compared to say, I need to save 50 people today, or I need to save 100 people today, because those are numbers. But when you have a value that's driving you to do something more specific, something a bit deeper that you can find within yourself, these actually help you through more difficulties and challenges. So I think if we look at all the international disaster relief that Tzu Chi has been involved in, it's easy to say we're going to deliver how many blankets, how many food support, how many houses we're going to build. Those are numbers. But I think what truly drives all the volunteers across the world to really be passionate and dedicated to deliver what seems impossible is because they really care and they really love. They are really compassionate about the sufferings of the others, just like the master taught us. So once you have those values within you, it almost makes it easier to face the obstacles that's in the way. I think coming to an end, no. So I think this is a jigsaw aphorism that I've come across, and I actually really like what's been written there to say that the mind must withstand the mold and test by the arising matters and surrounding people, yet remain undisturbed, be calm in mind even when one is busy and occupied. So I find that this will echo back to what I've been learning as I progress in my career and progress in my personal development, whether it's professionally or within a city or at a different environment. It's a reminder to myself to say that there are things I've learned and Tzu Chi values I've cultivated within myself. How do I practice them at a different facet of life, whether it's at family, whether it's at work, whether it's, with some strangers or within the Tzu Chi community? How do I maintain that peaceful and calm thoughts when there are challenges? Because it's easy when it's everything going your way, but we truly grow when we are able to face our challenges and recognize that there are still room to grow, and we step out of our comfort zone and continue to develop as the master wished for us, so we can support the burden from the master and then do the best we can for Buddhism and the mankind. Thank you very much.
And then Brother Jia Luen for the very inspiring sharing. When you were speaking and then looking at you, I'm just wondering, you are obviously in a youth age, Secondly, you obviously playing one of the leadership role whatever you're doing. I'm just wondering, how do you play a role in attracting the youth to join the what you're doing and to live the lifestyle that you have just described?
So I think the way I probably haven't done enough in the sense of attracting youth into joining Tzu Chi, but I think the way I see it is that can I plant a good seed? For example, like at work with my colleagues, especially my junior colleagues, when I work with patients or work with my team or my nursing colleagues, there might be some disagreements and stuff like that. But I think I try to be a role model in terms of how do I communicate with the others. And then I would, sometimes my nursing colleague would feedback to me that, oh, I'm a bit worried about your doctor there because they're doing X, Y, and Z. And then sometimes I'll take them to one side and then have a brief chat with them and then just understand why they do what they do. And then similarly, I'll speak to my nursing colleague as well. And then you start to breach the differences in communication because sometimes it's just the communication problem rather than the intention problems. And then once you help both sides understand, and then you start to build respect among the team, then they start to bring that culture, whether it's in their workspace, or because as doctors we rotate through different hospitals and different departments, that is something they start to bring across to the other departments as well. And then this is generally how I try to instill or practice this or communicate. And at the same time, because I enjoy cooking, somehow I just bring some nice food for my friends and I just invite them over for dinner. And it's like, being vegetarians aren't that bad. I think they have a lot of nice food. And then they do buy into it.
That's wonderful. But I'm just wondering. Obviously, my generation, well, compared to your generation, the mindset are totally different. So share with us the mindset of people in your age group. Are they a little bit more rebellious compared to the mindset of your parents?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, can I say this? I think I'm probably not as rebellious. I think in a way, I'm probably not as rebellious as in comparison. That's why I think. But then I think sometimes I think there's a discrepancy between the expectation of parents or the generation above me and my generation. I would like to say I'm probably a bit old school. I'm a bit conservative in my mindset as well, especially after coming here. And then, but at the same time, sometimes I think it's the ideas that's different. And then how do you communicate with there's a gap in the communication because especially after attending the youth meetings, there are a lot of youth who are passionate, they are respectful, and then they've got ideas they want to push. But then quite often, especially in an Asian culture, there's a mindset of you have to do what I say. I know best. This is my experience from life. So sometimes I think parents are being protective. They're worried about the challenges that youth like me encounter as we grow up. So, it's out of love. They don't want us to suffer the way they may have suffered or from their own experiences. But at the same time, I think like the sutra says, we are reincarnation from past life. We've done deeds from the past that dictates what our life is currently. And then I'm not, I hope I can put it in a bit accurate way when I translate it to Chinese, English is that I think we are here to repay some of our debts. We are here to repay some, and then some are here to repay their debts to us. But then whatever we do in this life cycle dictates our next chapter. So sometimes I think for me, I think I'm grateful for my parents to actually let me out and then I have some challenges that I face myself. And then actually before I came to the UK, there was the thought that should I go to City University to study medicine or should I come to the UK? And then I was grateful to actually end up deciding coming to the UK because I think I've grown up in the city environment for a very long time. I need to be somewhere that is not familiar, that I'm not protected anymore, to say, can I still do what I believe is right? And I'm grateful I still find the right people and the right influences around me with Tzu Chi activities around here. And I think, like we talk about how do you influence youth? I think youth have got their ideas. Things are a bit different, but then sometimes they need to be there and encounter the challenges rather than being protected. Because until you encounter a problem and try to fix it yourself, you'll never truly experience it yourself because it's still your own experience. And then someone else's experience can always just be a guidance, but it's never your own.
Oh, wonderful. My next question is, in your last slide that you showed just now, you
Yeah.
talked about, and quite skillfully, you just described what you described just now is how you have your mind was being molded in a such way from a very young age,
Yeah.
groomed to where you are now, which is wonderful. Now, the second point in that aphorism was is a mold and test, right? So you
Yes.
will, despite being molded, you'll be tested in life as you go through. Obviously, your various tests in life. My first point is you shared in your slides about the Sutra Infinite Meanings, and for someone obviously who have been through what you have, you've been exposed to this teaching, and share with us your example of how a realization has unfolded to many other realizations in the course of your life.
Okay. So I think within the sutra itself, I think we talk about a lot of self-reflection. We talk about identifying ourselves, because I think within the Buddhism teaching or sutra, basically I think we say that all of us are living Buddha, just that we are being influenced or we're being contaminated by a lot of worldly desires. And then in the pursuit of Buddhism, it's a pursuit to cleanse ourselves of all these worldly desires, greed, hatred, and things like that. And then similarly, if I put it onto a bit of a more of a modern take of it, it's kind of like at my workplace, I have to do reflective writing. There are cases that I've encountered at work. How do I reflect effectively? And then if I go down the way they put it in a more scientific academic way of is, what am I feeling? Why do I feel that way? And then why do I think these have affected my actions? And then if things have played out differently, would I have done it different? What would have changed? And then what do I want to do next? So if I marry the sutra and a bit of a modern way of looking at reflection, basically both of them are looking at an internal, they're reflecting internally of why I do what I do. And then I find that some of the sutra's teaching might be quite deep, and then certain verses might not suit certain people. Clearly, some of them don't suit me in a way that I find I can't understand them. But then within the Jingzi aphorism, it makes it it makes it simpler in a way, like we talk about how do you find, they say, inner peace, or do you say how do you maintain tranquility? So, for example, in the face of disagreement, how do I able to put my feelings aside and then actually listen actively to what the other person is talking about? So in a way, I'm not being driven by emotions. I recognize I've got some emotions coming up, but how do I put aside and then say that this is all my emotions, but what is actually going on? So I think for me, that's how I sort of marry both together. And then I may have not answered the question directly in terms of, what are the realization I have. But I think I would say that it's being clearly I'm still learning, and then we're all here learning together. But I think it's that awareness of your thoughts, awareness of my own thoughts, because it's quite easy, especially on an escalated tension or arguments or discussion, you start losing the sense of you start losing the sense of thought. You just want to argue or discuss for the sake of discussing but you lose that awareness. So I think maintaining tranquility is basically the practice is try to be self-aware at all times. And then I think one thing I realized when I was younger was actually I'm not sure if it's still being done now in Malaysia, but there used to be a lot of food bazaar. City have a lot of food bazaar or market bazaar that they sell a lot of food and different things. One thing I particularly enjoyed was washing dishes, because for some reason washing dishes is very peaceful. And then at that time, you basically, it's a simple task. You don't think about it, but you just do the task, but it's just very calming in a way. And then
Right.
how do you maintain the calmness, for me, whether it's at work or with at Tzu Chi environment or is outside, because I think Tzu Chi provides a lot of activities. It's actually a safe space for us to practice all these values and cultivate these values. And then because we're all brothers and sisters with the same master, even though we might offend one another due to multiple reasons, But then because we are all still practicing, I think we end up being a safer space to recognize what we're doing, and then each other becomes a reminder of what we're doing.
Wonderful. So washing dishes is like washing away the defilements of the mind, I guess. That's why it's so therapeutic.
Maybe.
You mentioned about emotion, and I can't help but you're a medical doctor working in the emergency department in the
Yeah.
Birmingham Hospital. Tell us that obviously you do as much as you can to help all the patients that come through. Tell us what goes through your mind when there are people you just can't help.
So I think for the people
what goes through your thoughts?
So I think basically I will split into two ways. So there are things that I can make a difference. For example, there are medical intervention that I can do that can change the outcome. But then there are certain parts is patient dependent. For example, if they refuse to change, I can't force them to change. For example, I think in the UK we see a lot of alcoholics. If they don't stop drinking, no matter what I do, I can't change them. And then within a hospital setting, it's very, very hard to have that time to accompany them, to understand them. And then it takes a lot of time and effort to actually change someone's lifestyle that way. Unfortunately, in a hospital, it's not a setting for that. And then if someone doesn't wish to be helped from that perspective, refuse to change, there's only very little within that time I can do within my hospital practice to change them. But then in terms of, so I think that's one aspect that, I can only do what I can do at the front. And then sometimes little stuff like smoking, overweight, obesity, you can try to encourage them, give some positive encouragement, like, for example, I stopped smoking from 20 to 10 a day. You give them positive encouragement, that's a good job. But if you stop completely, you do better. So there's little encouragement like that. But will they change is not up. So it's not up to me to control. And then for me, one of the ways to practice is to recognize that what I can change and what I can't change. Because sometimes I think as physicians, we get very attached to things that, it's out of our control, but we have to let it go, because if not, you just feel a lot more resentment or a lot more worries within ourselves. And then as for the cases that I can't help because, it's patients critically unwell, or patients, it's the treatment options have been exhausted, there's nothing else we can do. I think one thing that's very different in the UK compared to Malaysia is the thought about palliative care and quality of life. Because quite often, I think coming from an Asian family, we find that the longer you live, the more prosperous you are. That's a good thing. But then in being in the hospital for such a long time, when we think about someone who lived a very long time, but for example, in a vegetative state, or someone who had a severe stroke, and then they keep going in and out of hospital, are they suffering or not? It might be a difficult way for me to put it, in a way that is this something they want to keep going in a hospital to live longer while staying limited? Because everyone's wants and needs different. So in terms of cases like this, we start thinking about, actually, you ask the question, what would you like? How do you feel about it? If I stop, I can do certain treatments, but certain treatment might be more invasive, but you're going to have the same problem. What is most important to you? You start having discussions like that. And actually, patients start to recognize that, actually, this is what I want or what I don't want. And then you help them to build a bit of clarity as well. And then clearly there are patients who are terminally ill, they come to hospital, and then the next thing is probably they will be passing away soon. And then how do you let them have a dignified and a good death? And one of the way to do it is to make sure they're comfortable. And then the other part is allowing closure with the family, to being honest, to say that there's nothing we can do. Sometimes we do things for the family because they want to feel better, they've tried everything, but it may not be in the patient's best interest. So how do you bridge that communication? Let them feel closure to say that you've done the right thing. Now the decision is to stop, because the more we do is going to cause more harm. Why not just spend time with them? So it's little things like that I always actually managed to cultivate, especially from my experiences with City. I think for some reason, I find this communication comes to me a bit more naturally than I expected.
Okay, if Kandan brothers, I suppose one of the very least thing can be done is to pray for them. Now we got a Sister Karping who got a question. I know we've been running out of time. Sister Karping, you got a question?
Yes, thank you, brother. Jia Luen, thanks for the very insightful sharing. My question is, really in putting into practice, especially in your circumstance in the UK, we have heard about, doctors, nurses going on strike, right? So I really want to hear from you at that moment, what was the conflict that you felt inside, and how do you balance this, an ethical issue versus, the spirit of camaraderie?
So I think I personally strike, if I'm honest. I did participate in strikes because I think in terms of how should I put it? In terms of how they manage the camaraderie and the hospital side, because for us to strike, there are systems in place by the consultants running the departments and everything else. So there are safety nettings. And then if the trust or hospital is struggling, we get called back. And then some people might say, we're not going to strike, we're going to come back because it's a critical incident. So I think there's that balance between that, because I think unfortunately the strike is more related to political reasons rather than patient care. And then unfortunately the way the trust is run, because I think in the UK all healthcare is free, including cancer treatment. And then the way it's working out is that people will get exhaustion and burnout. And then in the long term, it's actually worse for patients. So it's finding a balance between the two. But all I can say is when I'm at work, my heart is there. That's it.
Wonderful as well.
Thank you. Wonderful.
So, Brother Jia Luen, I know it's very late for you now. It's
all right.
midnight, I believe. So, thank you so much for the insightful sharing, inspiring, and especially from the youth. You give us a lot of hope.
Thank you very much for having me.
On this path. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, let's move on. Next, we have Brother Hualien and Sister Eleen Wong. Brother Hualien doesn't need any introduction at all. He's been a regular sharer on this platform, and you always see him in Tzu Chi, and a very active, obviously, a volunteer Tzu Chi, and a lawyer, an accomplished lawyer by profession. Now, together with Brother Hualien is this Sister Eleen Wong. I was going to share with us the life lesson on Taman, Sinar, Harapan, and Kuala Kubu. Now, some of you may have been there, but those who haven't, I would really recommend you to expose yourself there. And let's hear from both Brother Hualien and Sister Eleen about those life lessons. The platform is all yours.
Thank you, Brother Chin. And also thank you for your sharing, Brother Goh. A very good evening to you all the way at the other end of the globe. The story of Taman Sinar Harapan, or in KKB, was actually earlier shared 2 weeks ago by Brother Andy. He gave a very heartfelt sharing on firstly his journey into Tzu Chi and what he observed in his service together with Tzu Chi at Kuala Kubu Baru. I thought I could escape to this sharing after his wonderful jog 2 weeks ago, but no. But I'm very happy that I'm also joined by Sister Eleen. If I may just try to share the screen.
Before you do that, Brother Hualien, if I may just an interruption. Brother Jia Luen, I hope you're still around. I forgot to take a photo. So if someone can, and all of you open up your video when we take a photo, in case Brother Jia Luen need to excuse himself to go to bed. All right. Okay, Sister Lily, can you take a photo?
Yeah, hold on, please. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
There are more opening. Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Sorry, Brother Hualien, for the interruption.
Oh, no, not at all. Let me try to share the screen. Right. Everyone can see, yeah?
Yes, we can see your slides.
So this is more of a little continuation. I hope I can add a little bit more to what Brother Andy has already shared. But for those who firstly missed his talk, and those who are, of course, not from Kuala Lumpur or Selangor, I felt like it may be helpful to do a short recap. The title is Taman Sinar Harapan KKB Life Lessons. So maybe we should know a little bit about what this KKB is, yeah? Or it's actually an abbreviation we use to denote Kuala Kubu Baru. It's a little town, a very quaint town built or initiated by the British officers during the colonial times. It's around 60 km north of Kuala Lumpur, roughly around 1 hour's drive from the Kuala Lumpur Tinsel Hall. We usually gather an hour early, say around 7:30 or so, and then we have a nice slow drive along the rural roads, and we'll reach Kuala Kubu Baru. The place we go to, I thought maybe because it's Visit Malaysia year, I should also say that Kuala Kubu Baru is based at the foothills, and one of the very famous hill station is Fraser's Hill. It's one of the still undeveloped hill station, so I would encourage everyone, especially who hasn't been to Malaysia, to come and visit. Within this quaint town is a Taman Sinar Harapan setup. Taman Sinar Harapan, this bahasa, loosely translated to English, it is perhaps called a Garden of Shining Hope. This garden is in fact one of 7 homes that are set up around Malaysia and it's under the purview of the Social Welfare Department. It is set up to provide care, protection and rehabilitation of the disabled, a safe place for them, especially for children with learning disabilities. They actually offer daily living activities with the hope of training the children with learning disabilities, and they provide social skills training. The purpose is that as they grow and they learn these essential skills, they can then integrate with the community subsequently. However, the Taman Sinar Harapan that is in Kuala Kubu Baru is a little different. The placement of residents are based on their level of disability, and from out of the 7 Taman Sinar Harapan actually is the one where the occupants are placed in the category where they cannot be trained and they are bedridden. What the Social Welfare Department can only do is to provide them a safe place while they are there. Brother Andy, in his heartfelt sharing, shared about his first impression when he visited Kuala Kubu Baru for the first time. He described it, and he's not alone in such description, that it was like, what he saw was like seeing hell on earth, because the residents who are there, most of them are mentally disabled. Quite a few of them are physically deformed. A lot of them are bedridden, and they hardly give any expression from their face or their eyes. You may sing to them, you may talk to them, but you can't really tell, what is going on in them. Some are chained to their bed or locked in cells. These are mainly to prevent them from harming themselves and others. And there is a very strong smell of poo and pee around their wards. And you also hear occasional very loud grunts and screams randomly all around when you are there doing the activity. since around October 1995, Tzu Chi volunteers visit the home and these residents on every second Sunday of the month. It has gone on almost 30 years now. Over there, and over this course of this long period, volunteers have learned how to, carry and move these bedridden residents. Volunteers go and trim their hair. Their hair cannot be kept too long because of lice and various other disease. We also trim their nails. We bathe them, and then we help change. Most of them need to wear diapers. This is to ease the workload of the matrons and attendants, the full-time matrons and attendants there. And then we also dress them. For the Kuala Lumpur and Selangor volunteers, I think KKB, or Visit to Kuala Baru, is probably one of the mandatory or compulsory event or activity to take in its training, or it's almost like a rite of passage somewhat, to visit KKB and render a service there. I can see the reason why many knows or feels that is a suitable so-called training ground. I recall my first visit there was during my Pei Xun time, that was probably 2014, 2015. Like for any first timers, maybe only me, it's chicken hand and duck feet, first time handling and seeing the situation. So I remember one of my tasks was to carry one of the residents to bring her actually for hair trimming. And after all the, I've got to know how to carry, know how to angle it so that it's easier for the other pusa who does the hair trimming to get the right angle and all. So after that, then in all the midst of the activity, then I hear one senior volunteer sister say that, "Oh, brother, after that, you bring this pusa to Yu Fo." So what crossed my mind was, Yu Fo, as in bathing the Buddha. So what is this Yu Fo? It's not Wesak there, Only then did it come to me that when the sister meant, what she meant for Yu Fo is to bring the resident to the bathroom to be bathed. That gave me a little bit of an impact because I've never looked at it that way. We always hear, especially within the Tzu Chi environment, we call each other Pusa, and everyone is a Ichun Pusa, Ichun Fo. The sister reminded me that, the person that I'm embracing, I'm carrying, this rather helpless person, is a Fo. I'm going to bring her to Yu Fo. From then onwards, really, the Yu Fo meaning has a different layer of meaning to me. This resonates, of course, also with the sutta, or with the saying that the Buddha's saying, it was contained in, I think, one of the suttas where the Buddha said that whoever who attends the sick attends to me, and that is also presented in the mural of. I think in most of the Tzu Chi hospital, there is this beautiful mural where it depicts the Buddha helping and caring for the sick. Since then, the Tzu Chi volunteers have brought many groups, various groups, to visit Kuala Baru, mainly because there's much lessons to be learned. The recent one that I joined together was with a group of a Catholic community. There were some 26 members who came and joined us. After that session, we then gathered together, and we had the opportunity to interact with them and to hear from them what their experience was like after the service. So there was quite a meaningful session, and one of the members who came was actually no less than the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Kuala Lumpur, Archbishop Julian Liao. And it may be a recording of his sharing was made, but maybe it's a bit too long to play at the moment. But in gist, he recounted that even in his training towards a priesthood, the church actually has a program where the trainees will have to also attend and give their service. But he said that there was almost some 15, 20 years ago that he last did such a service, and he was actually very grateful to join Tzu Chi and to have this session and remind as a reminder to him of the importance of service and also the joy that is received from the ability to serve. So much, I mean, the often repeated words would be compassion and gratitude. How seeing another resident or so many residents of them, so many residents who are in that helpless state will very naturally evoke the compassion within everyone, and how naturally a person will be moved to want to take action, and followed by a great sense of gratitude for what we already have or what has been blessed to us. Then there is another member of the Catholic community who also shared. Maybe I can play this if I hope the sound will come out.
Share this experience. I spend most of my time with two of the residents. One of whom is a boy, but I think about 11 years old. His name is Hualien, and most of the time he's curled up like in a fetus position. So I was just spending time with him, and then I was putting my hand on his body. He curled up and then hugged my arm. Came close to the edge of the bed, hugged my arm, and then after that he took up his hand and stroked my head. Stroked my head 3 times, and after that I was still spending time with him, and he did it 3 times. I felt that we thought we'd come to share a little bit or give a little bit of our time, but at the end of the day, I think today I received more than I gave.
So that is, she's not alone in feeling that way, and perhaps that's also why so many volunteers, groups after groups, are willing to visit Kuala Kubu Baru and render the service. I may want to skip this. This is another sharing of a young teen boy. First visit there. In gist, he mentioned that he was, of course, a little apprehensive on how he should approach. He was tasked to trim nails for one of the residents, but he subsequently felt that actually the resident there were very welcoming. He could feel that the resident sort of was communicating without non-verbally. He said that it's okay. I know you are new. It's all right. You can come and and tend to me. That was the feeling that he had and he received, and it was something, of course, very new to this young man. The community, I think, must have received a great deal or in terms of experience, because the earlier in their first visit was sometime in November last year, and shortly a few months later, the same group got more of their members to join us, this time 60 plus, 3 times more than the earlier time. And they came. We also had a session on sharing to listen to what their experience was. I think the common thread that I can tease out from their sharing is that a lot of them, or most of us, will feel that really having the strength to help others is such a great blessing. and that there is indeed a kind heart in each of us. So if inspired, the love in us will be kindled. So even the most maybe timid person, when they're confronted with such a unusual and sometimes shocking scene, they will still, although a bit apprehensive, but they will still muster enough courage and go and help, because it's something where you just cannot not help and render your service. This, of course, one of the major feeling that most will have would be how precious this human life really is. The Buddha described it in such a vivid manner, saying that how precious is the human life is as precious, or how rare this is. It's like a blind turtle in the ocean who comes up only every 100 years and happen to pop up and then poke its neck through a hole in a piece of wood. That's how rare it is. This story was also shared by Sang Ren in the story of the blind turtle and the plank. And seeing how really precious and rare this human life is, we can't help but move to think what would be a good way, what is the most useful way to use this precious human life of us. One 警示语 that I like, and I managed to capture this being put up, and this is actually in Hualien. It states that 对父母要知恩、感恩跟报恩. Let us appreciate, be grateful for, and repay the love of our parents. And the way I see, or one of the ways for me at least, to repay the immense sacrifices of our parents is actually to render help to others with our still able bodies. And my parents are no longer around. I can't repay directly to them, but perhaps putting a good use of my own body, which they have gifted me and nourished me, is one of the ways. So that, in short, is what I have to share in Taman Sinar Harapan. And I thank Brother Andy for this collage of beautiful photographs. Tzu Chi volunteers and those who have joined us has really give a little bit of a Sinaran Harapan, a little light of hope to the residents. So, Kan En, I would like to hand over to Sister Eleen to continue with her sharing and her experience with in Kuala Kubu Baru. I thank her for being so willing in taking up this task. Sister Eleen.
Thank you, Brother Liang, for your good sharing. Give me a couple of seconds to share my slides. Okay, I think I have difficulty sharing my slides. Do you have a copy of my slides?
Let me try to bring it up.
Okay, sure.
Sister Eleen's visit to Kuala Kubu Baru was, I think, sometime last year in October.
Yes, correct.
And so the first challenge she faced, it was actually before even reaching Kuala Kubu Baru.
That's true. Yeah. So to continue with Brother Liang's sharing, mine is more of a personal testimony of my first visit and then subsequently several more visits. So while Brother Liang pulls up my slides, for me, honestly, I didn't know it was considered a rite of passage, as you mentioned earlier. If I had known it was a rite, yeah, the screen sharing is very good. Yeah. I think you need to rotate the slides for me, so I'll just share.
Sure.
So I was invited by Brother Liang
quite a number of times. Honestly, in the last 1 decade, he has prompted me many times to make that visit, but I've always had a resistance to it because I felt in my mind it was probably not something that I would be emotionally capable of doing. I tend to be quite given to emotions, and I would cry easily. And I think doing something like that would be upsetting, not just for me, but having people see me cry would be upsetting for them. So I avoided saying yes to Brother Leong. And I've been putting it off because I felt that I may not have the courage to do so and may not be emotionally strong enough to cope. But last year was an interesting year because I went through a rough situation at home, and Brother Wailong invited yet again. I was nervous and anxious, but I found myself saying yes. So for courage, I got my mom to come with me. So Papa also went along, and it wasn't the first for my mom. My mom is 70 plus. So she came along with me to Kuala Kubu Baru. The challenge that we had initially was a personal challenge because I had a flat tire. But to my surprise, upon arrival at KKB, I was assisted by many volunteers who were there to give joy. But in the end, one of them, Brother Andy, ended up repairing the flat on my car. So yeah, thank you for that. So while doing the deed, I was assigned, I think, the children's ward, which they felt was one of the gentler experiences for a novice like I. And to my surprise, all my anxiety melted away when I started serving these angels, like what Brother Wailong said. I was filled with joy, I was filled with energy, and there was so much radiance about. There was radiance in the air, and I think the key word that I could describe it would be blessing and sparks in the air. You know, so much joy. And then that was when I realized that we were put there, like what the earlier sharing was we thought we were there to serve, but in the end, we found something of ourselves instead. And we derived and soaked in so much joy from the initial purpose of being there to serve. So I discovered that I had a great capacity of love. I also managed to unlock a part of me that I've kept for a long time. So to give context, I was raised in a rather strict upbringing where emotions are held at bay. We are not encouraged to share emotions. The Asian way of parenting, we were just, asked to do and to follow. So I have kept that emotional part of me locked, and I could use it for service in my work, but I find that I probably cannot extend myself on a daily basis. So while in KKB, the action required me to do trimming of nails, trimming of hair, sweeping floors and all that. Something unlocked in me that day that I didn't realize I would need it not soon, soon after. Because months later, in the month of January, my father fell sick and he was hospitalized for 2 months. I visited my father every day in the hospital, and by the 4th week he was in the hospital, his hair had started to grow long, his nails had started to grow long, and it seemed very natural to me then to be able to trim my aging father's toenails, to trim his hair. And as I was doing it for my late father, I felt a deep sense of connection to watching my hands pick up his nail, to the connection that I had picking up the foot of an angel in Taman Sinar Harapan, and picking up the resident's or the angel's foot and trimming that angel's toenails. That was the two feelings I had as I was doing it for my father. And it was such a beautiful feeling because it brought me back to that time and that unlocking of that sentiment that allowed me to do so. So today, actually, I want to thank Brother Hualien for nudging me for the last decade and for giving me that opportunity to discover that part of myself that I didn't know I still had. And upon discovery of that part of myself, I could then utilize it to serve my late dad before he passed on 2 months, after 2 months in the hospital. He passed on in the end of February. So thank you for that. And you mentioned about that earlier you mentioned about paying back our parents, and service is something that we do to repay back our parents. Thank you directly, Brother Hualien. I could repay my father, yeah, while he was still around. So that unlocked that repaying of the debt. Brother Hualien also asked me, because after that breakthrough that I had, how was I able to invite many more friends and family to come on this visit and to offer themselves to volunteer work in Tzu Chi? I found it easy because it was a transformative journey for me, and because I could share it on a personal basis, then it helps them see something in themselves, and it was easy for them to say yes to me. And since then, I've brought quite a number of people. So I've skipped some slides already, Brother Hualien. Could you go to the next slide, the group photo? So in this group photo are several friends that I've brought to Tzu Chi for some of their activities. And in this group photo, there are 5 or 6 different nationalities. Yeah. So karma translates to compassion. Yeah. So here in this group photo, you could see collective karma transcends creed, nationality, and age. I think compassion has no boundaries. And according to Buddhism, compassion is an aspiration, a state of mind, wanting others to be free from suffering. It is not passive. It is not empathy alone, but rather an empathetic altruism that actively strives to free others from suffering. And genuine compassion must have both wisdom and loving kindness. So could you skip to the slide before on this? Sorry. Yeah. In the Bible, because this is the month of Lent and this is the month of Ramadan as well, compassion is also a spoke of. I took up this quote in Galatians 6:10, as we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith. Essentially, compassion is a running line in across any faith that we have, including Muslim as well. So for me, inviting friends of different nationalities, of different walks of life, it was no barrier at all, because just like how you have unlocked that part of me that I thought was hidden, right? I could do so for everybody else. So I could bring quite a number of volunteers to Tzu Chi. So I think I'm coming to the end of my sharing over here. I would like to give thanks also to the earlier sharing of Brother Goh Jia Luen. He said that service is the debt that we pay to the rent that we have on earth, and that is true. So I found, to my joy and also to my delight, that being able to offer myself in service to Taman Sinar Harapan residents, these angels, right, has actually given me an opportunity to not only give them joy, but to find deep wells of compassion within me, and a part of me that is able to do difficult things that I have protected myself from in my life. So thank you for that. All it took was just one visit to break free from the barriers that I initially had. So thank you, Brother Hualien. You are the reason why I'm here today.
Thank you for
Garden so much, Brother Liang and Sister Eleen. Brother Liang, you want to continue? You got a few more minutes.
I thought maybe we can open to some questions if some who are not from Malaysia may want to know a bit more about.
Any questions for Brother Liang and Sister Eleen? Okay, if there are no questions, I'm just wondering of Sister Eleen, you mentioned it's the first time you've been there, right?
Yes, it was last year. It was October last year was the first time.
You've been back since, or?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first time was with my mom, and the second time was with a different group, the Gen Zers. It was in one of my photos. I would go back, because I think each time I return, I discover something new.
That
And
was
I
the
think
question I wanted to ask you.
each time I return, I discover something new. So one of the things that I also in my recent trip was the generosity of the senior volunteers to continue to share their time to aid new volunteers like me to integrate into the work that we needed to do. So they were able to profile us and also assign us tasks that they think we are capable of doing. So that was good of them. And secondly, the biggest gift they did was they stood back and allowed us to do. So instead of doing it themselves, they just did the organizing and the sorting out of who does what and all that. But they stood back and they allowed us to do. And I think that's a really good gift, to be able to bless somebody with the opportunity to actually do that work without doing it themselves, and then to find joy in being able to gift somebody this opportunity to do that work. So thank you to the senior volunteers also. Brother Andy was one of them.
So, okay, so you, from the first time you've been there to when you have a last stop, you find that you have grown in terms of doing. Share with us what has grown inside you.
Oh, okay. I think three things. One was I think the elimination of doubt that I had. Previously, I had many self-doubts. So one of the growth factor was the elimination of doubt, and that I can do something like this. So that's one. Secondly was once the self-doubt was removed, I find that I could dig deep for compassion. So second growth was compassion, that I thought limited supply, but no, it is deep wells of it. I can really go deep. And I think the third thing was I have personal challenges in my life, and it has been rough. 2023 has been a very rough year. But once I have started volunteering and serving at Taman Sinar Harapan, the challenges I have seems small compared to other things. Compared to the challenges that the residents or the angels have in Sinar Harapan, Taman Sinar Harapan. And also, it puts perspective on my personal, difficulties. So I think the three growth is: one, removal of self-doubt; secondly, finding deep wells of compassion; and the last one would be making my problems seem smaller. And because there is distance in that, then I'm able to manage my personal challenge better. So
Excellent.
Thank you, Brother Chin.
It's great insights of this on your personal journey there. I think will be an inspiration to all of us, and also to be able to really understand what you went through, and certainly this will be a very good lesson for those who will go there the first time. Thank you so much, Brother Liang and Sister Eleen. Great sharing and very insightful indeed. Right, so next we have Sister Monica and Brother Christopher. As I understand, both of them are pharmacists. They are good friends with each other, and they have been doing on medical missions, going to Cambodia and to East Malaysia. And from the UK, this morning from the UK, we came back to Malaysia. So Sister Monica and Brother Christopher is going to take us to Nepal this morning. So Sister Monica, I understand you're going to share first, followed by Brother Christopher, and you will end with Chip in at the end. Here you go, Sister Monica.
Hi, thank you, Brother Chin, and good morning, brother and sisters. Can you all hear me? Are you all hearing me loud enough?
Yes, can hear you very clearly.
Right, okay. All right. I will be, because we were there in Nepal for 3 days, I'll be starting with day 1, and then Brother Chin will then come in to share with everybody on day 2 and 3, and then you will be doing a closing. So medical outreach, why we are there in Kathmandu in Nepal, is because the FNB goes back all the way to 2015, where the earthquake happened in Nepal, and international disaster relief was organized back then. And Master Ching, because she has been, Master Ching has always been very in touch with happening around the world. And she has got this compassionate heart, and he has been guiding us to continue to support even after earthquake. And this time, the reason why we are back there is to see whether we are able to plant the seed and to let the seed to continue to flourish. And of course, we would like to inspire more locals volunteer to be able to spread the root. And I'm sure being a big place, Kathmandu, we will be able to learn a lot from the locals. So that is the objective why we are going back to Kathmandu. So next, I would like to share with you Kathmandu itself a little bit about this place. It is actually the capital city of Nepal, with a population of 4 million populations in the city. It is a place which is filled with valley, very historical place, a lot of ancient temples and villages. This city is one of the oldest, they call it continuous inhabited places in the world. What it means is that this city has been lived by the inhabitants since before BC until now. So you can imagine that the history that was built from that time until here is actually very rich. This place, they have got religious and cultural festive is the major part of their lives. So they celebrate a lot of religious and cultural festivals. And we know Nepal and Kathmandu is because it is a gateway to many tourists to Nepal, Himalaya, and it has got a lot of the World Heritage sites from this area onwards. Right. Next, please, we'd like to see the team of us from Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, the entrepreneur group, and the TIMA group, the medical group, who are there to support this medical outreach. And the purpose of this, as I mentioned earlier on, is to support the existing Tzu Chi volunteers, to inspire and to recruit more volunteers in order to join the charity medical missions. Right. I would like to also to mention one more point about the situations in Kathmandu. Because of the populations, it is very overpopulations, and hence this is one of the reasons that causes the pollutions over in Kathmandu. In fact, Kathmandu itself has got very severe shortage of water. So when we were there, we had to use mineral waters, and the locals are using the water tank for their normal daily household use, cooking, washing, and rinsing irrigations. And when we visited the place, we have even witnessed where they are getting the water supply from the underground sources through the stone fountain. So it is still happening in the Kathmandu itself. And so this is what I would like to share about what we see in Kathmandu, right? Okay, from the left, this is the team, the medical team. You're looking at the screen from your left with our sister Wifo, the radiologist, myself, and brother Chris, the pharmacist. And this is the family physicians, our Dr. Vanali, and then Sister Jo, the nurse, who are there to support the medical missions. Next, please. Okay, on the first day when we arrived, we have a recce of the place, the site visits. And we are very blessed to be able to have these medical missions inside the hospital itself. And this hospital, it has got all the, it is a multidisciplinary hospitals providing the PEDS. I will share the services later on. But here we are very privileged to have this hospital because January, we were there in January. January is the coldest month in the whole of Kathmandu. The temperature goes down to as low as 7 degrees. We are very thankful that we're able to have these medical missions inside the hospital, protecting us and retaining the comfortable temperature for everybody to be able to do the screening and also to protect us from the piercing wind and the dusty air outside. Next, you will see the owner, the very kind-hearted owner, Dr. Ram, who is a Tzu Chi, a medical, a TIMA volunteer, right? And next, you will see that we are sharing Tzu Chi volunteerism to them. Many of them, they have not heard of or they are not exposed to Tzu Chi. So this is where we are trying to explain to them what we can be doing together to serve the community, to help in the community. Okay, so next is the actual day, the first day itself. You can see that we are there to set up the Tzu Chi logo because this is how we would like to introduce to them the concept of Tzu Chi in helping in medical missions. Next, you will see that we are managing the flow. So our brothers and sisters there are discussing how do we do triage, how do we plan out the stations based on the hospital setup itself, and how do we bring the crowd from one floor to another floor, from one station to another station. All these are well discussed right before the arrival of the people that we are going to be screening. Right. You see, okay, this is the arrival of majority of the patients or the people that we screen are from PSS home. It's an orphanage home, and also the local community. Arrival of elderly from PSS home, led by Mama. Then you will see this is the activities that we are carrying out. We screen a total of close to 130 patients. And very thankful that we are having the local hospital staffs to be helping us with this because they're able to do translations. And all the stations, you can see that they're able to help us to guide and arrange waiting area to help us to explain or the flow of the medical missions. Okay, these kids, they are very cheerful. They are very happy. This is while waiting for their turn to be screened by the stations. They are sitting there interacting with each other. So yeah, they're healthy. This group, you can see that this group of children, they are generally healthy kids. Our sisters here and brothers, you can see that they're trying to cool down these children, trying to kill their time, showing them cartoons. So they are kids being kids, they are very energetic. They will ask you questions. They will come and hold you, to ask you, what is this? What are you doing? They are, yeah, very innocent children over there. And you can see that our volunteers from Singapore, I think they are long-standing volunteers in Buddha land. They are accompanying the children. So these are their own grandchildren. Right? And right, these are sharing of some pictures where you see that how we are comforting the nervous little ones, running around, walking around. Right? And then next, we would like to show you what are the common medical issues that we have encountered. The services that are provided over here, as you can see that we have oral health, PEDS, which is children health, adult health, eye screening, mental health, x-rays, ultrasound, and then at the end, we'll give them medication supplements, and then we do urine test and blood test if necessary. Okay. All right, and this part here, generally the children at the home, they are generally well-being. This, except a few of them have skin conditions, and this is because for this children, her blood was actually dripping as she was walking around. She didn't realize. The reason is because the wound, if you can see that the wound, it's because the wound has enlarged already due to the cold weather. So she didn't know that the wound has cracked and it has increased in size until the blood was dripping. So what happened is that I brought her to the A&E so that the dressing can be done and applied some medications. Otherwise, the wound will get infected. Right, okay. Then you can see our doctors are there happily screening the abdomen of our patients. Okay, and x-rays. Okay, this is where we share when we were there. We share, everybody share with respect and love. We try to explain because language is a barrier within us. We do need a translator to explain. But when we explain and we explain with patients and to elderly and to the children, regardless of their age. And this is where what I would like to share is that this is self-discovery of or myself. Being a pharmacist, I should be able to use the knowledge that I've learned and share the knowledge with the public, regards of the age and the religions and the conditions and the background of the people. Okay. Next, we'd like to share that the happy volunteers over there, we're trying to, myself and brother Chris, we're trying to influence them and tell them what Tzu Chi is about, trying to plant the seed in these two pharmacy assistants in the pharmacy itself. Okay. And the same, our doctors are sharing them what is Tzu Chi voluntarism together with the hospital staffs. Right? We serve them with sincerity. We give them tender, loving care. And this lady would like to share is that this elderly lady, when she arrived, when we were starting to do the screening of the ultrasound screening, she complained that she has got intense pain. She hardly walked, she couldn't walk, and she was in pain. So what happened is that we brought her to do the ultrasound. Things seems to be okay, but towards the end, she told us that it is all fine. I am okay. No, not a problem already. No more pain. So we feel that by us providing tender, loving care, magically it solved the pain. So at the end, we couldn't quite understand what was the reason that causes the pain. But at the end, she was really happy and she said there's no more pain. And this is at the end of day one, we took a group pictures and we are very blessed to have this place to be able to carry out the work and with local volunteers, TIMA, and entrepreneurs. Right. So then towards the end part, we were doing a sharing together with the local translator. This is where Sister Jo is trying to explain to them and to recruit them as new volunteers of Tzu Chi to serve their own community. And this is where we also explain that, from us, we took our own leave. We took leave from our current working place. We pay out our own expenses to come and hopefully to nurture and to help the local community. So we hope that by seeing what we are doing, we are able to inspire them in contributing themselves, their time, in order to help their own community. Right, so this is the end of the first day. Brother Chris, you'll be sharing on day 2 onwards, please.
Okay, thank you, Sister Monica and Brother Chin and all sister brothers. We are proceeding to the day 2 of our outreach. So, sister, please, slide, please. Okay, on the second day of our journey, we are going to the conflict victims and disabled society, located about 35 to 40 minutes away from Kathmandu. Yeah. So just a little bit of this center, the history. The center established in the year 2005 with their mission to enhance the opportunity and to uplift the livelihood of conflict victims and child with disability in the Nepal. Yeah. I would like to explain a little bit more on what is this conflict victims about. Yeah. Maybe we can have a clearer picture on what we are offering. Yeah. Later. Actually, conflict victims refer to a person that suffers from destructive actions undertaken as a result of some armed conflicts, such as death, injuries, hardships, host, loss of property on dislocation. So basically, these are the group of people that they are conflicting the norm of the community. Yeah. So there are altogether 75 children that we are serving, all right, with the age from 6 to 17 years old. And they are physically and mentally disabled. For example, we have patients with cerebral palsy, neurodegenerative disorder, psychotics, and epilepsies. Yeah. So next we have the photos on how the looks on the center. Yeah. And we have the opportunity to meet the founder. Okay. Just a little bit on the founder's history. The founder is handicapped, right? From the age of 14, and then he himself struggling and build up this center. Yeah. We try to have a communication with the founder over the center, and they tell us a lot of history. For example, they do have regular doctors visit every month to the center for those unprivileged children here. However, during the pandemic time, COVID, those regular visits has been suspended, and they have difficulties in having medical supplies and doctor services. Yeah. So next. So we start with our medical mission by setting up the station. So altogether we have about 5 stations in the center, and here with the local volunteers and teamers members around, we start to serve the community. Okay, so bear in mind, this group of children, they are all underprivileged and mentally they are not so stable, and we have our challenges to place them down, and then we have music, we have dance to calm them and position them in a proper manner so that they can come to the center one by one. Next. We are grateful to have our brother Mani as a Tzu Chi commission there as well, and then he knows better on the native, their languages and their culture. So he's our great Pusa, I would say, to putting the crowd in order and to ease while waiting for them to be visited by a doctor. Next. So this is the time for us to sow blessings with our doctors, with our local doctors and medical teams. Next. Okay, bear in mind, I mentioned that we have about 5 stations. All right, so these are some photo clips on the station that we have. Okay? I check mental health, and then adults and family division, children division. Next. Okay, just for some clip on the children station, yeah. Actually, there's a great challenge always in childcare division, as most of children here are special child and they need more attention than others. So we spend most of our time talking to them while we are checking their condition, their health condition, and all that. And after that, we are sending our love. Just a second, yeah. Okay. Dr. Nidish is our Tima sits in Kathmandu, yeah. And it's always been a great pleasure to have him that knows the local community better and to share our love to them, yeah. So in the picture here, we can see that we are offering them ang pao, yeah, during the cold winter season. And we are giving them blessing. Okay, next. Okay, Dr. Tang is a long Tima and resides in Lumbini. I think year back 7-8 years there. Okay, so we can notice that the compassion is there, and Brother Tang is trying to open up the pocket and biscuit for the CP patient, while he observed that this CP patient is actually beating the ang pao, right? Okay, next. Okay, so this is our Tima team. After the outreach, we took a picture with all the local volunteers and doctors that in charge. Okay, next. Okay, right after our medical outreach, we straight proceed our journey to PSS Orphanage Home, which is about 30 minutes away from the outreach center. So here we are sending some basic necessities, daily necessities, such as jackets and some food to the orphanage home. Bear in mind that is time that it's the coolest time of Nepal, and we try to recline living. Okay, here with me in the photo is Dr. Verna. Yeah, Dr. Verna has been visited the orphanage home before, and he felt so delightful to see some of the orphan girls whom she met 2 years ago. So they are happily and healthier as compared to the photo that Dr. Verna kept in her phone. So she's trying to share with them their old photo with the current situation. Next. So again, we recline with growing orphans, right? And definitely one of our mission here is to inspire them to be Tzu Chi volunteers. On my right, there's a girl, she's very talented in terms of art. And then she was trying to share with us her creative drawings. And just weeks before our presentation, we get to know that this talented orphan has been accepted to pursue her study in a local art college. So grateful and thankful to her achievement. Next. Sister, next, please. So during the offerings, we are having the interactive session with the children. We are offering them jackets, right? Helping them to wear jackets and share the joy with them while we are on our visiting. Next. Okay, so these are the home distribution, the full session, right? And it has been always grateful from the time we touched now to this orphanage home, all right, that people feel weird on us and maybe they don't feel confidence on us. And after a session of sharing and get along, they feel blessed and they can get along with us well. And I remember the principals, they call them Mama, yeah, that she was trying to offer her jacket to one of the orphans that unfortunately we don't bring her the color of jacket that she liked. So the mama would just take off her jacket that we offered to her and put onto the orphans. I think this is one of the loving and sharing that she offered to the orphans. Next. Okay, so we are going towards the end, yeah, and let me just recap anything that I left out before I come to this session. Okay, here I would like to share some of Jing Xie aphorism. To me, life is like a jigsaw puzzle, and there are always a missing puzzle piece in hand with us. It's up to us on how we can contribute in this missing puzzle piece to complete the missions or the cycle of life for everyone. And true spiritual cultivation is to contribute time and ourselves fully despite hardship to help people whenever we are available. Yeah. So we need to share our whatever that we have, no matter this is part of our duty, our task or not, right? I always took myself not as a pharmacist, but to always to ready to help for anything that I can be able to. Okay, so the world is always full of uncertainties, confused, and we do not let the environment influence our mind. With patience and perseverance, we diligently work towards improving the environment. Yeah. So this is what I learned during our outreach always. Yeah. So remember, we always contribute our time, our money for flight tickets, our contribution. We are trying to share our joys there, right? Especially to a community, unprivileged community that we will encounter from time to time. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the last day of our mission that we have a lunch session at Maya Hotel. We try to carry out our masters commission as own life out the Buddha spirits. Okay, last day lunch is not the end of the mission that we have, but it's just a beginning and to gather more strength, to inspire more people, to give themselves with love and care in this heavily populated city. I think that's about all of my感恩. Thanks.
Garden, Brother Christopher and Sister Monica. Sister Monica, you got anything else to add?
Probably I would like to just to add the to a little bit a few insights that I have while I visit the PSS home. Right. Okay. If you look back into the children that I was holding in my arms, the last few slides, yeah. Okay, just yeah. Okay, this toddler, she was brought to the home when she was 1 month old. So Dr. Werner again, she witnessed that when she was being sent to the home, how small, how little she was, and then now she's already a year old, a year plus old. So to me, I feel that this home is really very filled with energy, filled with joy, and despite the environment, it's a very harsh environment. They have their orphans, but they look after each other. So in this, I feel that one insight is that you don't let the environment affect you. And these kids, they are actually the role model because despite the environment, they are disciplined. They study. If you can see from the background, they have their school bags and they are very tidy. So when there's time, they will do their homework and they encourage each other. So this is what I see. When I see that, I feel that this is a mentality, strength, and perseverance that one should be able to learn and put that into our lives. Number two is that I find that by visiting them, it recalls the inner side of me where I am always very passionate about coaching and grooming the children because these children are the future of ours tomorrow. So I have almost forgotten that passions in me. Number one, probably because of work. Number two, because my kids are all grown up already. So by visiting them, it recalls that insight of me. And yeah, so I find that I was able to learn more or receive more than I was able to give. So just would like to add this.
And Mr. Monica. All right. If you can get off from the slides, if you may. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for the wonderful sharing. There's one point, Brother Christopher. I like the part that you mentioned about it's like a jigsaw puzzle. We need to find this puzzle to fit. So I guess what you're trying to say, we're actually a piece of puzzle, right? And we try to fit in this universe. So the jigsaw puzzle is the whole universe, and it's a mystery for us to discover or uncover where we fit this puzzle in this universal jigsaw. And the part that Sister Monica, you mentioned that, I think you're trying to mention that how the involvement actually shape us. So I'm trying to relate to what Brother Christopher was saying. Sometimes our puzzle in life, we're a bit of a misfit. So we need to shape ourselves to fit in rightly. What is destined to be fit? And that's the mystery of the journey of our life, is to uncover that mystery to be shaped and molded. So we have our nature that we need to shape, but our nature, they need to be shaped. First of all, our heart need to be trained rightly, isn't it? And that's why Sister Eleen, you mentioned your experience in Sinar Harapan and how that heart got broadened and opened up. So the other point that you mentioned about the puzzle part of it. So do you ever wonder why that you go to Nepal? What takes you there? I'm just interested to hear from both Sister Monica and Brother Chris. I mean, obviously there are causes and conditions that brought you there, but share with us what brought you there. What inspired you then? I want to go. Obviously, you got your benefactors to bring you there. I'm interested to hear from both of you.
Okay, I'm the pharmacist in profession, and to me, the best medicine in life is the joy. And I would like to share the joys among others, especially when we notice some unprivileged, unhealthy person that we encounter, and we try to help them. But it doesn't mean that the medical treatment can completely help them to ease their condition, right? Especially their inner set, right? So well, we try to comfort them, and then we try to bow down our body and to serve them in the way that the current modern medication cannot be treated, right? And this is why I I I I try to go beyond my profession to come and help out. Even though it is a matter of spending time, spending money, and all the efforts. And here also, I would like to call upon our brother sister who are willing to join our medical mission in the next visit. Then please and try to feel yourself how you share your joys over to them. And I think this is the best that we achieve during the whole outreach. Thank you.
Wonderful. Sister Monica?
Um, uh, uh, to me, yeah, it's very much similar to what Brother Chris has just mentioned. It's I look at it as a calling. In fact, Brother Chris called me, well, there's this outreach in Kathmandu. Would you like to go? I think without hesitations, I said yes. I will just book my ticket and I go. Then I settle the rest because I find that it is a calling. If exactly, I find that every outreach, every time that if there is a missions, I am able to learn and experience more. From the experience that I learned, it shaped a better me. So I'm able, I do not, I let that to be revealed when I'm there. Every time I learn different lessons, which is not something that I'm able to get it from, the book that I learned. It is through experience, through me being there, seeing what I see, hearing what I hear, and inner heart is where there is always a calling and always a lesson that I will be able to pick up and learn, which nothing, I cannot buy that through money. And so this is where it's able to shape me. And so I say, yeah, let's go. And I am there to learn rather than to deliver.
That's wonderful. So, you had this calling, you say, that you went there. And I suppose that was the affinity that brought you there. And you mentioned, Brother Chris, that it's me bowing down, right? So, you see, the bowing down, I guess, is for you, it's not just a giver, but you are actually a receiver, like what Sister Monica was saying, that you receive learning, you receive lessons from this. So as much as we try, we are a piece of jigsaw. We need the other pieces for us to fit in, because without other pieces, our only piece is meaningless. It's just a minimum piece in the universe, and I think that was a key takeaway that I learned from both of you. Questions from the participants, for Sister Monica and Brother Christopher? Right, if no question, I just want to go back to Sister Monica. You mentioned about lessons you learned. Can I put it another way and ask you this question? Are there anything that you have unlearned? I mean, just to hear from you, what is it a thing that you have unlearned in your life from this visit?
This is a very good question, and this is kind of like secret. Secret. I used to be ego, very yeah, and I am lack of patience. So the sharing part and sharing part wasn't very much in me. Yeah. And this is what I see, and I need to unlearn and keep that traits of me out of me.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, and hence, and through that is that as and when if there is new experience, now I know that, experience is for everybody to go through it. The path, you have to walk the path yourself. So now being where I am right now, I do understand that, keeping all these things to yourself will not be able to help anybody. I won't be able to fix the other puzzles together. So I learned to how to share the experience. So if there is children, if there are teenager, or there are any medical students or dental students who want to learn more, I will then start to arrange opportunities for them to come and see and observe. And the patients also, I serve them with compassion.
Okay.
And every night when there is possible, I will then organize some charity programs for them to help the underprivileged people.
Wow, wonderful. Brother Christopher.
Okay, I'm a busy person, and to me, time is precious. And I always tell my colleagues, my friends, that I'm out of time. But surprisingly, when it comes to Tzu Chi outreach, I can find out my time. So this is what I need to unlearn from there, and how to find more time for me. As Master Chen Yuan always mentioned in Mandarin, 做就对了 means we need to work when we have the opportunity to serve the community. So for me, I need to find more time for me. Yeah, and through the outreach, this is how I can proceed with my journey in searching of time. Thank you.
It's wonderful. So you're saying that, well, we have a lifespan. If you break down our lifespan, it's equal to the time that we have on this earth. And therefore, what is it that I can dedicate that part of your life for the benefit of others? Wonderful. That's something that you obviously, the unlearning part that you mentioned, I don't have time, right? And then suddenly you've really realized that what you have unlearned, the useless part, I guess, and put that value into that part of your life. Excellent. I'm going to ask you one more question. What have you relearned from this? You have unlearned. Are there anything that in your engagement that you have relearned?
I relearned the relationship among our sister brothers during the activity. Okay, we know everybody, we have a different pattern of way on how to handle our tasks, and some may be very good, fantastic, and some may be a bit under the schedule. So I'm in the process of relearning this, how to get along with them, and that actually help me to tune down my anger. Sometimes I have my own anger when I see people who are running under my schedule. I can easily get annoyed. So this is the cycle, I would say, the cycle of relearning for me. All right.
Sister Monica?
From the start, I think I'm still learning, as I mentioned just now. But I feel that what I see is that the unconditional love that are given by what I see, the volunteers, is something that I would like to learn. How do you go to the stage where, to treat everybody borderless? Mankind are the same.
All right. So, yeah, interesting. So, the part about unconditional love, it reminds me, obviously, the parents, right? The parents will give you unconditional love to bring you up. So, but obviously, when we start growing, right, we have our own pursuits in our life and so on and so forth. And that fundamental part of the childhood unconditional love that we inherited from our parents and probably taken it for granted and not realizing that. So now you are relearning and playing that role and give it to others. Absolutely fantastic. And when Brother Christopher, I guess from that part of the relearning is that I guess before you became a busy pharmacist, you may be a very patient person. And because in your pursuit of your career, I mean, all of us do, right? We believe this early life, we are in pursuit of a career, and time is money when we want to grow into. And we go back to the fundamental part of it, when we are a child, you would love to. I don't know about you. I mean, nowadays they all have computers and in-house games. We spend our time engaging with our friends, isn't it? And your childhood friend, your classmates, and in school, they are still close friends with you now. But you notice, certainly for me, I may have spent just a few years with them, but that, why is it that until today we are still close friends, right? But then in the colleagues, when you retire, when you leave, you're not as close as what you have with your classmate. And that is that joy that you have, that affinity that you have, that engagement, which is unconditional, and of which you spend time without a time schedule in the early days. But now there is a time limit where we put to accomplish things. Wonderful insight, Brother Christopher. That will opening me up, and obviously a lot of us have learned from this. Okay, wonderful. Now, any questions before we close off the session? Because it's coming up to 8:40. All right, if there are no further questions, I would like to thank Brother Christopher, Sister Monica for the wonderful insights. Obviously, I would like also thank the Sister Wai Fong, who brought you all into this sharing and operated the slides, I believe, for both of you. Okay, and not forgetting Sister Eleen and Brother Liang for your wonderful sharing as well. Okay, so with that note, we shall close the session. But before we do, we offer 3 bows to the Buddha. First bow. Second bow. And the third bow. All right, so you'll have a wonderful weekend, and I hope that you all will stay on with us, and we have a nice sharing next week. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the wonderful sharing, and Brother Chin for the most wonderful and insightful hosting.